You do not have free will. In fact, nobody has free will. More than that, nobody can have free will. Okay? Now, what are we talking about here? We are talking about this is you, and you're at a point in time going this way, and you're right here, okay? Right here, you could take that path, that path, that path, not a physical path. These are different futures that you can decide from that point on, okay? Time going this way. And you think you can choose any one of those futures. Aside from the arrogance of this little guy right here to think that he could override quantum physics and its domain and the grasp of the effects of it, there is also just logical proof that not only do you not have free will and nobody has free will, but nobody can have free will, okay? So now, what are we talking about here? We're talking about behaviors. I don't care how messy it is. Okay, over here, I think everyone, the free willers, would agree that involuntary behaviors, you don't have free will over, right? This is when you're, I don't know, like unconscious or let's say reflexes. Okay, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but reflexes, okay? I was going to say reactions, but reflexes, I don't know, sleepwalking, okay? This is incredibly messy. So then, what are we left with? Anyway, over here, sleepwalking, reflexes. You put your hand on a stove, you pull it off. There's no thought that preceded that. You just pulled it off. Someone drugs you. You really don't have free will anymore. Okay, so what do you have left? The only thing that you have left are what you would call voluntary, in super sarcastic air quotes, behaviors, okay? And we're going to focus on that, okay? Because everything under this umbrella is subject, okay? And we're going to come back to it, is subject to the following logic, okay? Let's work backwards. We have let me try to be a little neater. We have ultimately the behavior, okay? And we're going to put that, time is going from left to right, okay? We have the behavior. Happens right here, okay? At that point in time. And the behavior can be a thought, it can be a cognition, because we're going to be talking about cognitions, okay? But leading up to that behavior, okay, the behavior is preceded by a succession of thoughts, or at least one thought, okay? I am going to make those thoughts squares, okay? And there may or may not be time in between each thought. Sometimes you just can't think of your reaction to the last thought, etc. Okay, so this guy right here, though, the one right before the behavior, and it doesn't have to be right before, it can be a future decision. Oh, well, not behavior. Well, that's bullshit. The one right before the behavior is the decision. And again, it doesn't have to be right before the behavior. You can decide to do something in 5 hours. But that's the decision. The decision is also a cognition, all right? So it is subject to every single one of these cognitions here is subject to the following logic. First of all, here it starts. Here's the initial thought, pops into your head, right? Initial cognition. I don't want to talk about too many examples, but let's say you're bored and you're like, the thought pops into your head, oh, I'm bored, I want to do something. Like what should I do? And that's your initial cognition. Okay, right here. Okay. Now let's let's focus. Let's go on to this right here. Time, boom. Right here, the instant, okay? Before you have that thought, hey, I'm bored, what should I do? Do you have any idea what thought is about to pop into your head? The answer, of course, is no. You have no idea what thought is about to pop into your head. But you have that thought anyway. Does that sound like you have any control over that initial thought? Of course not. You have no idea what it's going to be, but you have it anyway. And you might be saying, "Oh, well, if I'm feeling bored, yeah, I might think that I would about to have that thought." You can't think you're going to in an instant have a thought, because that would be having the thought, right? So you would have already had the thought. This is the nature of the time before having a thought and the time after you've had the thought. You don't know what it's going to be before. You have it regardless of your consent, regardless of your input regarding content, and you have it, and then after you have the thought, you know what that thought was, what you were, going to have for a thought. Now, the next one is like right here. Then we're here. The next thought is considering. Now that we're in the realm of I'm bored, what do I do? Then maybe a memory of what something fun that you've done in the environment you're in pops up into your head, right? And then you say, then another memory pops into your head. And then you're like, oh, which one should I do? And then you come up with, a memory or a guess of, this one will be better because it's daytime. And then boom, you make a decision. Now, each one of these things are related to this, but you don't know what memory is going to pop up, okay? And you have no control over what memory is going to pop up because it's subject to the same logic. The instant before you had the memory of something you've done that was fun recently pop into your head, you had no idea what memory was going to pop into your head. If you did know what memory was going to pop into your head, you would have already had that memory. You can't possibly know ahead of time what your thoughts are going to be, and just through logic. And that is true of every single thought that eventually leads up or leads up to the decision and ultimately the behavior. The instant before you have a thought, the instant before you make a decision, do you have any idea, or do you know for sure which one it's going to be, which thing you're going to elect to do? What initial thought pops into your head? No, you don't. But you have that thought anyway, you make that decision anyway. Therefore, on what grounds could you and that's all that logic. Okay, we got rid of reflexes and sleepwalking and drugs. Now we've addressed all of the quote-unquote voluntary behaviors. There are no behaviors left, okay? And it's all subject to this logic. And the instant before you have a thought, make a decision, you have no idea what it's going to be, but you have that thought anyway, and you make that decision anyway. On what possible grounds could you now claim that you have free will over your decisions and actions and behaviors? Okay, let me just write something down right here. It's going to be really interesting. No free will, no test necessary. Oh, boom.